So people often ask me, why do I still use a pre-trade checklist after so many years of trading the exact same strategy? Now, the reason that I still employ a checklist and recommend everybody do the same is because I don't want to be making important trading decisions at the exact moment that I'm most emotional. This is something that a lot of beginners get wrong. They think the goal is to look at a chart and just know what you're meant to do. Like you're meant to develop some sort of magical gut feeling that you can instantly tell whether something is a good trade or it's not. And sure, market intuition is real, but it takes years to build. It comes from putting in rep after rep, mistakes, data, pattern exposure, and seeing the same thing in the markets play out over and over again. So when you're new to trading and you say, this just feels right, or this looks like a good trade, you need to be really careful because there's a good chance that that is not intuition. It's more likely to be something like impatience, or it might be FOMO, or it might be you trying to revenge trade and wing back earlier losses, or it might be overconfidence after a good run, or it might just be that you're bored and you just want the trade to be there. You're looking for some action. And this is exactly why I still use a checklist and I recommend beginners do the same. Not because I'm trying to make trading more complicated than it needs to be or look more professional. And also not because a checklist guarantees some sort of an outcome on the trade, but because the moment right before I enter a trade is the worst possible time to rely on emotion, gut feeling, or real live judgment. The best version of you creates the checklist before the emotional pressure is there. And the worst version of you only needs to be disciplined and follow the checklist. In this video, I'm going to show you why I use a pre-trade checklist, what it protects you from, and the kind of things that I want to run through and make sure are checked before real money is on the line. So I want to give you the top 5 reasons why I use a pre-trade checklist and why you should too. Now, reason number 1 is market intuition. Okay, market intuition is earned. As I already referenced in the start of this video, it is something that is real, but it is something that also takes years to develop. And beyond this, even once you've developed it, it's not something that's standardized and trackable. Okay, a gut feeling, a market intuition is not something we can put into a data collection process and assess over a large period of time because it is not standardized. Okay, so market intuition comes from time, reps, pattern exposure, mistakes, data collection, and seeing the same things play out over and over again in the markets. Beginners almost always have not built market intuition yet. If you think you've got market intuition, it's probably one of the other things that I mentioned earlier. So do not confuse early stage emotions in trading with actual market intuition. Only the best develop this. Reason number 2 why you should use a checklist is the real problem is live decision making. Okay, so the best version of you builds a checklist before the pressure is there. The worst version of you just has to rock up and follow it. Okay, by the time you're about to enter a trade, these things should already be decided. Am I trading in the right direction? Does this meet my setup criteria? Is my entry price placed correctly? Is my stop loss placed correctly? Is my profit target in the right spot? Is my position size correct? Does this trade fit my risk rules? Am I within my open risk limits? Am I within my drawdown limits? Am I bending my trading plan? These are all decisions that should be made before you even show up to the screen for the day. This is because you do not make the best decisions in the heat of the moment, especially as a beginner, especially when you're emotional or you've had a run of bad trades, or maybe you've had a run of good trades and you're overconfident. So these decisions need to be outsourced before you even step up to the screen to trade for the day. Reason number 3 is that a checklist protects both sides of emotion. And this is something that I sort of referenced just then, is that most people think a checklist is only there to stop for reckless trades, okay? So for trades that you shouldn't be taking, or when you're revenge trading, or when you're looking for action and you're bending the rules and trying to find a trade. The truth is it does that, but it also helps you take valid trades when you feel scared. Okay, so this forces you into a trade when the system says you should be in the trade, but you've had a run of losses and you're not feeling confident. So not only does a checklist protect you from being scared to take valid trades, it also protects you from being too confident and forcing invalid trades. So there's both sides of the spectrum here at play, and this protects you from both and makes sure that when you shouldn't be in a trade, you're not in a trade, and when you should be, you're getting in regardless of the emotions. Reason number 4 is that bad trades usually start as small compromises. Okay, bad trades do not always feel obviously stupid when you take them, right? This is the reason that they're a problem. If they felt obviously stupid, it would be super easy to overcome this and only take good trades. The problem is they usually feel explainable. The checklist stops any form of negotiation. Okay, it's black and white. It's binary, yes or no. And it doesn't do this by making you emotionless. It does this by allowing you to lean on a checklist so that you know exactly what you're meant to do at any given time. And there are no compromises. There's no maybe, there's no negotiation. It's yes or no. Now, reason number 5, a pre-trade checklist should actually check the following things: setup validity, trade levels, order execution, trading plan guardrails. Okay, these are all absolutely crucial. So let's go through these one by one. Setup validity. If you do not have a checklist, you may not be making sure that all of these are true before you enter a trade. Things like, am I trading in the correct direction according to the system? Does the required time frame agree? Does this meet the full entry setup criteria? Do I have a directional bias? This is specifically for the 3xp entry system. Has confluence been confirmed? Is the pinpoint entry valid? Okay. If any required step is missing or unclear, is this a no trade? These are all things that you can prevent yourself from getting into before you do this, right? Okay, you should have a checklist that covers all of these. Additionally, things like trade levels. Is the entry at the right level? Is the stop loss at the right level? Is the profit target at the right level? Has the setup already been invalidated before the entry? Okay, things like this. There's more. I'm not going to go through every single one of them. You can pause and read the screen if you want to, but these things are also covered when you have a checklist. Now, a big one that I think is overlooked is these, or specifically these final two, but a big one that beginners often overlook is order execution. So this is where small mistakes begin to creep into your trading and turn into bigger problems without a checklist. Things like, are you trading the right coin? Now, this seems obvious, I know, right? If you're trying to trade Bitcoin, you're looking at a Bitcoin chart, it's probably going to be hard to fuck that up. The thing that most beginners overlook is, are you trading perpetual futures? Are you supposed to be? Are you supposed to be trading spot? Is this a USDC pair? Is it Bitcoin, Ethereum? Like, there's a lot of different things we need to go through and check here. Are you in the right direction? Okay, on the exchange. This, again, sounds obvious, but I've had lots of beginners who I've worked with press the wrong button. They mash the wrong button at the wrong moment, and they're in the trade in the wrong direction. Am I entering with the correct order type? This is crucial. You fuck this up, you get the wrong entry price. Am I in the correct account or trading mode? Okay, so you get more advanced, different leverage options, things like cross and isolated. Have you got the right one selected according to your trading plan? Correct entry price, correct stop loss price, profit target price. Position size is a big one. Often people will have their position size set to contracts instead of USDT or USDT instead of contracts. So this is, again, important. And are the protective orders active once the trade exists? So this is a big one, right? I've had this happen before. I've seen this happen to countless beginners. They get to complete their checks at the end of executing a trade, and they're left without a stop loss overnight. So if the market experiences a catastrophic event, which, shit, it's crypto, this happens all the time, this can wipe out your whole account unintentionally. So it's important we check these things. And then the final point I want to make is another one that I think is too often overlooked, specifically by beginners, is trading plan guardrails. Things like, does this fit my fixed risk per trade? Like, am I risking the right amount here? Has my position size been calculated correctly? Okay, do you have a position size calculator? Are you guessing? You need to standardize these things, especially when using R-based position sizing. This needs to be accurate. So things like, am I within my total open risk limit, which should be included in all trading plans? Am I doubling up on the same directional exposure, which is something that is worth questioning? Does your system have any guidelines around this? If it does, you need to make sure that you're not taking the same turd wrapped in glitter again. Am I within my max drawdown limits? Again, crucial. Am I allowed to take another trade according to my plan? These all need to be covered inside of a checklist. And as you can see, there's quite a few things that I recommend including in your checklist, but this is going to save you money. Okay, this is not trying to make things more complicated than it needs to be. In my mind, this makes things simpler. Okay, it's simpler because I don't need to think in real time about these things. It's all taken care of. The best version of me has spent time creating this checklist so that the worst version of me shows up, ticks the boxes, and I'm done. So the final takeaway here is that a checklist does not make trading risk-free. Obviously, it does not remove losses. It does not replace skill. It gives you a way to execute and standardize that execution cleanly while your skill, your pattern recognition, and your market intuition develop over time, which they will. The goal is not to become robotic forever or ever at all. Okay, the goal is to stop making important trading decisions from the worst version of yourself, from a place of desperation, of revenge, of FOMO. And that is exactly what a checklist takes care of. So the point of a pre-trade checklist is not to make trading look more complicated or feel more complicated than it already is. It's to stop the key decisions that are made in trading from being made by the worst version of yourself. Because when you're scared, overconfident, impatient, frustrated, or just looking for action, your judgment gets clouded. And that's when people start to bend rules. That's when they convince themselves that the setup is close enough. And that's when they start ignoring things like open risk, drawdown limits, or the fact that they're basically taking the same trade across multiple assets and are overly exposed to a market wipeout event. A checklist stops all of that. It forces the trade through the same process every single time. Is the direction correct? Does it meet the setup criteria? Are the entry, stop loss, and profit targets placed correctly? Is the position sizing correct? Am I following my trading plan? A checklist doesn't remove uncertainty, and it doesn't stop you from having losing trades. And it most certainly does not replace skill or discipline, but it gives you a way to standardize your execution so that you can execute cleanly while your skill, pattern recognition, and market intuition are developing. And this is a big part of what we teach people inside of the 3XP Academy. Not just an entry setup by itself, but the full structure around it. The pattern, the trading plan, the pre-trade checklist, the risk rules, the order process, and the 60-minute daily routine. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in checking out, I'll leave a link down below in the description. You can get all of the details for the 3XP Academy there. But either way, if you're trading without a checklist, you are going to run into some problems. Because the goal is not to trust your emotions in the heat of the moment. The goal is to build a process strong enough that you don't need to. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.